To do this job, you must first remove the normal brake, the emergency brake, the pedestal bearing, the pedestal oil seal, the sheave, the front oil seal, the encoder, and the rear bearing. I'm Matt Carr, Field Service Manager here at Torn Drive International. These are the tools you're going to need to change a shaft on our TGL 1 and 2 machines. Rag or shop towels, M12 all thread about 1 meter long, M16 all thread 2 rods about 1 meter long, 6 M20 nuts, 6 M16 nuts, and an M12 nut. The shaft removal tools that you can get from us here at Torn Drive International: a brass punch, a chisel, a shop hammer, and a 30-ton jack. Using the hammer and a flathead screwdriver, knock back the tab on the locking ring. Using the brass punch and a hammer, remove the locking nut from the shaft. Remove the locking nut and the locking ring off of the shaft. Insert 2 meter-long M16 rods through the holes in the motor all the way to the other side. Install M16 nuts on the M16 all-thread rods. Install an M12 all-thread rod into the shaft. Install the jack in the shaft removal tool. Install 2 M16 nuts behind the shaft removal tool. Using the jack, push the shaft out of the motor. You will have to stop and readjust this a few times to get the shaft all the way out. Install a strap on the shaft right around the bearing. Continue to jack the shaft out of the motor. Remove the jack and the shaft removal tool. Install the M16 nuts on the M16 rods all the way down to the motor. Line up the shaft and the keyways in the motor and slide the new shaft into position. Install an M12 all-thread into the end of the shaft. Install the shaft replacement tool onto the 12mm rod. Next, install the jack and then a back plate and an M12 nut. Now use the jack to pull the shaft back into position. Remove the strap. You will have to reposition this a few times to finish the job. Once the shaft is into final position, you can remove the nuts, the back plate, the jack, the shaft replacement tool, the M16 rods, and all the nuts. Install the lock ring on the shaft. Install the lock nut on the shaft. Using a hammer and a brass punch, tighten the lock ring onto the shaft. When the nut is tight and in position, use the hammer and a screwdriver and knock the tab into the space on the lock ring.